Imagine a fire burning deep inside you. One that was lit not by your own hands, but by betrayal, or humiliation, or neglect. Now picture what they expect of you. An outburst, a scream, a desperate swing at retaliation. As their script, their small-minded expectation. But what if you didn't? What if instead you stepped back and smiled, not a kind smile, but one that whispers, "You'll wish you never crossed me. But not today, because monsters don't chase revenge." That's a fool's errand. Monsters rewrite the ending. They don't take what's owed, they make others beg to give it back. Picture this: a serene room, dimly lit with whispers of betrayal swirling through the air. The betrayed sits quietly, staring ahead, not a tear shed, not a word spoken. The world watches, expecting chaos to erupt, for the scorned to lash out in anger, to strike with fury. That's what we're conditioned to anticipate, isn't it? The predictable vengeance of someone wronged, a loud, brash display of retribution that satisfies their pain for a fleeting moment. But what happens when the story doesn't go that way? What if the betrayed doesn't react? What if they don't rise to the bait, don't take the expected path of destruction? What if, instead, they wear a smile, thin, calculated, chilling one that suggests they're not defeated but waiting, watching? A smile that signals not surrender but strategy. It's unsettling, isn't it? Because that's the moment you realize they've transcended the realm of the ordinary. True power lies not in screaming your pain, but in the silence that follows, in the pause that unsettles the room. People fear what they cannot predict. And there is nothing more unpredictable than someone who doesn't play by the rules of revenge. In that moment of stillness, they aren't plotting an outburst, they're sculpting a masterpiece of regret, threading each strand of vengeance into something far more profound. The absence of reaction is louder than any shout. It forces those who cause the pain to wonder, to fear, to spiral into their own minds. And while they're consumed by uncertainty, you hold the reins. The silence isn't weakness. It's the first move in a game where they're no longer the players but the pawns. Revenge is primal. A knee-jerk response born out of raw emotion. It feels powerful in the moment, a rush of satisfaction when you strike back, believing you've evened the score. But like a match struck in the dark, its light is fleeting, and its warmth fades quickly. You've acted, you've reacted, but what has really changed? The wound they inflicted remains, and now you've joined them in the cycle of petty retribution. That's the trap of revenge. It offers the illusion of power while leaving you hollow. Regret, though, is an entirely different force. It lingers. It doesn't burst into flames and burn out, it smolders. A slow burn that persists long after the moment has passed. Regret isn't about what you've done to them, it's about what they've done to themselves. It's the realization that their choices have led to consequences they can't escape. Regret is a shadow that follows them, a quiet voice in their mind that they can't silence. It's not explosive, it's insidious, creeping into their thoughts at the most unexpected moments. When you aim for revenge, you seek to satisfy your own pain. But when you craft regret, you create a mirror that forces them to face their actions over and over again. Regret is a far heavier burden to carry than the fleeting sting of retaliation. It changes the narrative, making them question their decisions, their motives, their very sense of self. While revenge is personal and temporary, regret is universal and lasting. It shifts the focus from you to them, ensuring that their own guilt and choices become their punishment. In regret, there is no victor or vanquished, only the weight of their own actions pressing down, unrelenting and unshakable. Fear is the most powerful emotion, a a force that grips the mind and renders even the strongest paralyzed. It isn't the loud, screaming kind of terror that shakes walls, it's the quiet, insidious dread that seeps into the corners of the soul. And regret, that sharp, unrelenting sting of what cannot be undone, is fear's closest companion. Together, they can unravel even the most steadfast. The monsters who truly understand this wield these emotions like artists with a brush, painting landscapes of torment in the minds of those who cross them. You see, fear doesn't need to be overt. It thrives and whispers in subtle gestures, in the absence of clarity. When people can't predict what's coming, their minds fill the gaps with their darkest imaginings. And that's the genius of regret. It doesn't come all at once. It starts as a small seed, a flicker of unease, and grows with each passing thought, each quiet moment, until it becomes impossible to ignore. The mind is its own worst enemy when left unchecked, and monsters know this well. They don't need to shout or chase, they plant the idea and let it fester. Regret is their tool, and they wield it with precision. It strikes not at the body, but at the heart of someone's identity, making them question themselves, their choices, and their worth. Those who master the art of creating regret don't rely on violence or direct confrontation. They let their adversaries do the work for them, allowing guilt and fear to gnaw away at the foundation of their minds. The echoes of regret are far more potent than the roar of any physical act, because they linger long after the dust has settled, shaping the thoughts and emotions of their victims in ways no direct act of revenge ever could. Control is a rare and precious thing. Most people think of control as dominance, loud, forceful, unmistakable. But true control is far more subtle. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it. It's not about reacting to chaos, but about orchestrating it, shaping it, turning it into a tool. The most powerful beings don't act impulsively, they act deliberately, every move calculated, every step designed to shift the balance in their favor. Control is not in the fire, it's in the spark. The urge to react, to lash out, is natural but predictable. It's what everyone expects, an explosion of anger, a whirlwind of vengeance. But that's where control is lost. The moment you react, you're no longer the master of the game, you're a player being directed by the very forces you seek to oppose. True power lies in the pause, in the ability to step back and assess, to decide not just how to respond, but when and if a response is even necessary. Control is about patience. It's about watching while others stumble over their own impulses, while they reveal their weaknesses, while they dig their own graves. It's about knowing that the silence of a calculated mind is far louder than any outburst could ever be. Those who hold control understand the art of waiting, not passively, but with purpose. Every moment is a step in their plan, every pause a chance to refine their strategy. And when they finally move, it's not with the clumsiness of raw emotion, but with the precision of a scalpel. Control isn't about showing strength, it's about embodying it. It's the ability to make others feel small, uncertain, and powerless, not through force, but through the unshakable presence of someone who owns the game. Monsters aren't born, they're created, molded by the hands of those who wronged them. They begin as something ordinary, something vulnerable, until betrayal, pain, and injustice forge them into something extraordinary. But what sets them apart isn't the suffering they endured, it's how they choose to wield it. It's not about destruction or chaos for its own sake, it's about creation. Monsters take the shards of their broken past and build something new, something powerful, something unforgettable. They don't waste their time chasing after vengeance, tearing down what has already hurt them. Instead, they channel their pain into something far more profound. They become the architects of a world that forces others to confront their own reflection. A world where every decision, every action, reminds their adversaries of the consequences of their choices. Monsters don't just exist in the minds of their enemies, they live there, rent-free, occupying every corner of thought with the unrelenting weight of regret. Transformation is the essence of their power. They don't respond to pain with blind fury, they use it as fuel, as inspiration, as the foundation for something greater. They understand that the greatest punishment isn't physical destruction, but psychological dominance. They don't destroy their enemies' bodies, they shatter their sense of security, their confidence, their understanding of themselves. This transformation isn't about becoming evil or vengeful, it's about transcending the limitations placed upon them by those who hurt them. It's about reclaiming control, not just over their own narrative, but over the very minds of those who dared to cross them. Monsters don't wallow in their pain, they rise above it, turning it into a weapon that leaves an indelible mark on the world around them. Life offers countless opportunities to react, to strike back, to let your emotions take the lead. But the question isn't about what you can do in the heat of the moment, it's about what you leave behind. Will your actions be remembered as fleeting acts of anger, or will they carve out a legacy that lingers long after you've left the stage? The true test of power is not in the intensity of your response, but in its longevity, in the way it changes the story, the narrative, the perception. When you focus on revenge, you're looking to satisfy a temporary need, a hunger for justice that vanishes once it's fed. But regret is a far more potent force. It doesn't just end a moment, it extends it indefinitely, transforming a singular act into a lasting consequence. The goal is not to harm for harm's sake, it's to create an impact so profound that it alters the trajectory of someone's life, forcing them to confront the weight of their decisions every single day. Regret is not loud or brash. It doesn't announce itself in grand gestures. It creeps in quietly, a steady presence in the back of the mind. It's the thought they can't shake, the shadow they can't outrun, the memory that refuses to fade. It changes the way they see themselves, reshaping their identity around the mistakes they made. To wield this kind of power, you must step beyond the reactive, emotional impulses that drive most people. You must learn to see the bigger picture, to recognize the opportunities to create lasting change rather than fleeting satisfaction. It's about understanding that your actions should echo, not just in the immediate moment, but through the lives and minds of those you touch. So I ask you, what will you be, a reactor or a creator? Will you burn out chasing revenge, or will you ignite a fire that leaves a lasting impression? Monsters don't seek revenge because they don't need it. They create regret so profound it echoes through eternity. You decide, will they forget your anger, or will they never recover from their own regret?